Hi, my name is Rachel Gregory, and I'm a sustainability student here at ASU. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of Babylon Village in New York. So, the village of Babylon was originally purchased by the Sumpuam Indians in 1670. But when they purchased the land, it was back then it was known as Huntington South. And the town was actually a popular location to harvest the hay for bedding and feed for the livestock back up in northern Huntington. A man named Nathaniel Conklin was ready to move his family from an area in Dix Hills, it was called. Now it's just respelled. It used to be Dicks and now it's Dix. Um, but he was ready to move his family to a more rural community in the south of Huntington. Nathaniel Conklin was actually the grandson of Captain John Conklin, who was the first person to build a home in Wheatley Heights, which is a town not far from South Huntington. Nathaniel actually named the town from South Huntington to New Babylon in 1803 after he and his family found out that the home that they had built was across from a tavern. And actually, his mom compared it to the town with the biblical Babylon. So when he built his home, he carved the name of the town, Babylon, into the chimney of his now historic home called the Conklin House that resides in the village of Babylon. The federal government agreed with the new name that he created for the town, and by 1830, the post office was renamed from Huntington South to Babylon. The historic home that the Conklin family have lived in, which is now known as the Conklin House, is still standing in the village of Babylon, and it's a popular spot for a lot of the street events that happen in the town of Babylon. Like in October, we have a really fun street fair where at the Conklin House they host scarecrow making and pumpkin patch picking and fun kids activities. They have lots of various apple picking. It's really great that they took this historic landmark and made it into something that the whole town can use and have fun with. There was a railroad built in Babylon in 1867, and after that was built, it became a really popular resort area. So much so that at one time there were 11 different hotels just in the small village of Babylon. And a trolley ran from the train station to the steamboat ship dock where the ferry sailed to the beaches. So that was a really popular tourist destination at the time. In 1872, James T. Morris was the man who suggested the town's boundaries, and those boundaries were brought to Judge John Reed, who drafted the bill. And before they knew it, the bill was being introduced to the newly inducted Suffolk County Assemblyman John S. Mercy, and it was finally passed on March 13th, 1872. One of the things that Babylon is known for that I had mentioned earlier in the video is its train station. It's actually the last stop that provides for electric trains. So once you get to the town of Babylon, coming from Manhattan, you need to transfer off the Babylon train line and get onto a different train line that provides diesel trains to the rest of Long Island. So the rest of the diesel trains go east, and when you stop at Babylon, you get off the train, get on an electric train, and go back to the city. So it's a really popular transfer destination for travelers who travel throughout Long Island via train. My city is a really unique town because it's a really small, tight-knit village, aka the Babylon Bubble is what people call it, where every family knows each other. So it's nice, but also not so nice at the same time because everyone knows everyone's business, of course. We're also a town that's located partially on the water, so there's a lot of residents in my town that live on the water, across from the water, or live very close to the water. I would say some of the best characteristics of the town are its easy access to Manhattan and its amazing location. Like I said earlier, the train is extremely accessible, and there's a constant rail line that runs from Babylon Village all the way into Manhattan without any breaks, stops, or transfers. So it's really convenient for people who work in the city, which a lot of my friends' parents do work in Manhattan. It's also really popular for just people who are going for the day, for the week. I tend to go to the city with my friends for, you know, just a day or maybe 2 days. Um, and it having a train station right in the middle of my town makes it super convenient for me to actually, get to the city, whereas other people would have to maybe find the nearest train station or actually drive to the city, which just is an inconvenience overall. The location of Babylon is amazing with it being right on the water. People would die for the views that I get to see every day, so I'm fortunate to, live in such a beautiful place. And being on the water might be one of Babylon's best characteristics, but this could also be one of the worst characteristics for it. Because we are located so close to the water, the town often floods when there is really large storms, like tropical storms or maybe even small hurricanes, or even just like large rainstorms where the tide's really high, full moon. Perfect conditions for a nightmare in Babylon. Due to all the flooding that has happened in the town, there's also been a lot of tragedy, like people losing their homes to the floodwaters being too extreme. I have a lot of friends who have lost basically their whole downstairs, their whole first level, basement and first level. And when I say lose their first level, I mean they've lost all their appliances, all the flooring has to be replaced, all the drywall has to be replaced. The house on the first floor is not livable anymore because there's so much flood damage that there's no you can't reverse the damage. So the only way to reverse the damage is to gut the whole entire house and redo the first floor, the basement, fix up the foundation of the home, which for some people, some people can barely afford the home that they're living in. They're living paycheck to paycheck. So when their home floods, they have to rely on the insurance company, which doesn't get back to them for, weeks, months, years even. There are still people repairing their homes from Superstorm Sandy that hit, back in, I want to say 2013, 2014. And there are still residents in my town that are in recovery from Superstorm Sandy because they've been waiting on insurance money for this long and they don't have the funds to rebuild their own home without the insurance money. So, being really close to the water, it's a scary game that residents play just to live in an amazing town like Babylon. Again, my name is Rachel Gregory, and that pretty much sums up my town called Babylon Village, and I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation.